love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't be scared. Just looking up, don't be scared.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to L.E.A.P Castle. My name is Joe Kilson. Before we start the tour, before we walk and see the cell, let me give you a brief history about the castle. The British built this castle. They started the construction around 1665, and it took the British more than 100 years to develop the castle to how it is now. This slave castle was built purposely for the transatlantic slave trade. For about 200 years, British traders took away Africans as captives to the Americas and the Caribbean, enslaving these Africans on the plantation farms. The Africans taken away by the British, majority of them were captured within present-day Ghana. But in those days, there were some Africans who were captured in neighboring West African countries like Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, and plus the castle. And many of these Africans brought here as captives. They were kidnapped randomly from their homes by slave raiders. There were other Africans who were prisoners of inter-ethnic wars. And wherever these Africans were captured, they were marched on foot. They walked to the castle. Many of them were brought here by middlemen to be sold or auctioned to the British. But the British in the castle did not use money or currency to buy the Africans from the middlemen. The trading system was the barter trade. The British used imported commodities like guns, tobacco, textiles to exchange for the captives. And after getting these African captives from the middlemen, the British traders branded them. They had a branded irons with their company's names or emblems carved out at the tops, put into fire. The branding was done on the arms or the backs of the captives for easy identification. After the branding, the captives were then separated. The British created a dungeon where they kept the men or the male captives, and a separate dungeon for women. And we will see these dungeons. Now in the dungeons, they kept the captives for 2 weeks to 3 months, waiting for the slave ships to arrive from Britain. In North America, the British took the captives to their colonies in the United States, the Caribbean, to the likes of Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas, and over there, they enslaved the captives. They forced them to work on the tobacco, the cotton, and the sugarcane plantations. In 1807, the British passed a law to abolish the transatlantic slave trade. However, it is on record that some British traders who were in West Africa taken away captive, they did not stop after 1807. Some of them continued taking away people until the 1860s. I will pause for a second. Any questions before we walk and see the punishment cell?
Do you have any question?
I do have one question.
Okay, the British were not the only Europeans who were taken captives. The slave castles in Ghana are three. Apart from this, there is the Elmina, built by the Portuguese, and there's one also in Accra, the Christian War Castle, built by the Danish around 1661. So these Europeans had castles and forts where they were operating. So for the British, this was their biggest transit point, their headquarters in West Africa. And there are other structures we classify as the slave fort. They are smaller. And currently there are 14 preserved forts, but about 20 were built. The Dutch built some, the Germans even built some, the Portuguese, a lot. So not only the British, but other Europeans were also involved.
But for this specific castle?
This is British. All right.
Do you know of the Hebrew culture, the children of Israel?
Come again.
The Hebrew culture, the children of Israel?
As what I know about that.
Yes, the Hebrew culture. Some of our history says that our people came to West Africa, was in West Africa, and it was actually transported through the Atlantic slave trade.
Okay. There are people in Ghana who trace the ancestry to Israel. Having migrated all the way down here. I know the Ghan people, they migrated from Nigeria, but they came from Israel. The history, they came from Israel to Nigeria before migrating to Ghana. And the way Ghans were taken away as captives as well. Okay.
Are you going to start over again?
Okay, let's go. Keep your heads very low as you walk. Don't raise your head on the back. And down again. All right, let's put a light out.
Damn.
Oh my God.
Alright, so this was a punishment cell. The male captives in the male dungeon, some of them tried rebelling, organizing others to rebel, fighting for their freedom. They were brought in the freedom fighters. During the slave trade, there were 3 gates fixed at the entrance to the cell. And before they bring a captive in, he is whipped or beaten. He comes in here very weak. Once in, the 3 gates are closed. No food for the captive, no water for him, and no ventilation. He stays until he dies. So this was a death chamber. The idea to kill, but to kill slowly and painfully. And when the captive dies, the other men in the dungeon, they are brought out to sit at the courtyard to witness the dead body being taken away. They want them to see, to try and instill some fear in the other men so that they will not fight back. So this is the death chamber for just a few minutes. So you can imagine, when you die, the body into the sea. All right, let us continue. Again, please keep your heads very, very low. So down again. Keep your head down again.
So we are going.
All right. Now the British did not take only the human resource. The Africans, they took away the natural resource, gold, timber. These were the storehouses where they kept these goods. The slave ships did not come empty. When they are coming, they come with the textile, the tobacco, the European commodities, also stored in these rooms. So all these storehouses here in the slave. All right. Oh, you want to take a look here? Okay, you can do that. But yeah, be careful. There are birds flying in and out.
You said bats?
See the birds, just stay calm.
I hear bats. Can you see anything?
All these storehouses. And looking at this, you can see the materials, how the house was built. We're using the bricks, the stones. We're using clay mortar, lime powder to bind, to put together these bricks and stones. And the British, they used the African captives to build the structure. So before the ships arrived, where the captives were forced to work, they were used in building this structure.
Okay. We disturbing their home. Gotta just hold it. Gotta press this.
Press it for me. Yeah.
Okay. We do.
When you mother was up, I saw him have time, but to Nibi. No, I mean, I don't move.
So the courtyard, part of it used as a cemetery. These three graves here are all out of British national. The first one, a man by name George McLean. McLean was appointed a governor of the castle around 1830. He was brought here by the British to start the process of creating the British colony. After the British passed the law to abolish the slave trade, they had no plans of leaving the castle because of the gold. So they wanted to take control. How did they do that? By creating the colony. McLean had worked in Sierra Leone as the secretary to the governor there. So he had an experience when it comes to colonization. So they brought him here to start a British colony. George McLean stayed and worked here for 17 years. He died of malaria in 1847 at the age of 46. The wife, Letitia Elizabeth, she came from England to visit McLean in 1838. But when she came around in less than 2 months, Letitia was found dead in the husband's bedroom. And the cause of death was very controversial. There were gossips, rumors in the town and in the castle that when she came, she caught the husband McLean with another woman. McLean had a mistress, so the assumption was that Letitia might have committed suicide out of frustration. But there were also stories that it was McLean who conspired with the mistress. Together, they poisoned Letitia. 36 years when she died. And the cause of death remains controversial after today. This over here, a British Army officer, the name C.B. Whitehead. He also worked in the castle during the slave trade. He died in 1812 at the age of 38. The cause of death is unknown. There isn't any written record of who or what caused his death here. So 3 British buried right here. Any question? All right. Before we see the last grave, let's take a quick look at the water reservoir. So be careful with your cameras. If anything goes down, I cannot help. It stays down. And the phones too. Estimated to be about 18 feet deep. The British, what they did was that they stored rainwater in the reservoir. And they were using the rainwater to cook for the captives in the dungeon. That was what they would give to them to drink after eating. But we have now connected the reservoir to the main water pipes in the town. These days we store harbon water. And two of them, that is the other one. So pipe water now about the rain during the slavery. So let's walk to the last grave and find out who they buried there.
Oh, Kafla, what day you can say, oh, Castle,
So the last grave here is that of an African, a native of the town, the name Philip Kweku. That's why you see people on the grave. Philip Kweku was born in the town around 1741. His father was a middleman. The father was bringing people to auction them here to the British. At a very young age of just about 11 years old, Philip, together with two other local boys named Thomas and William, these three boys were taken to England to be trained as Christian missionaries. In England, Thomas and William died, and Philip was the only boy who survived. Around 1765, Philip Kweku was ordained a priest by the Anglican Church, and he was the first African to be ordained one. After becoming a priest, the British brought him back. He stayed in the castle during the slave trade, preaching Christianity among the Africans in the town. And Philip also promoted Western education. So the oldest primary school in present-day Ghana was named after him, the Philip Kweku Boys School in Cape Coast. He died on the 17th of October, 1816. Philip Kweku was 75 years when he died here, buried right in the courtyard. Reverend Philip. Any question about Philip? All right, so let us now walk and see the male dungeon. President Barack Obama was in the castle on the 11th of July 2009 with a wife, the mother-in-law, and the kids. And the wife, Michelle Obama, she is a descendant of Africans taken as captives to the US. And Michelle traces her ancestry back to present-day Ghana. So the family were here to see how Africans were transported or taken through the castles to the US. And this unveiled to honor their vessel. All right. Wow. Yeah. So the male dungeon. And this dungeon was designed to hold as many as 1,000 men. We're moving in, but before we move in, let me just say this. The British in the castle established a church during the slave trade, an English or Anglican church for their own personal use. And the church was established right above the dungeon. So the room you see with the windows closed here, it was a church, an Anglican church during the slave trade. So people were down here, Christianity was practiced. Alright, so we'll now move into the dungeon. The floor, part of it is very slippery, so please watch the steps. It's safer to walk on the left as you come. Shall we? So yeah, you just walk. Try to walk on the right side. Yeah. So this was how that. Yeah. The place. So 1,000 men from this chamber all the way down there. 1,000. But the dungeon, it was divided into 5 chambers. So let us walk into the first chamber here. Keep your heads very low as you come. Alright. So out of the 1,000 men, about 200 of them will be in this space. 200 men. And these men were always put in chains. The 3 vents, that was their source of light and ventilation. There were a few wooden buckets placed at the corners of the chamber for the men here to go to toilet in them. But these buckets were not enough. So most times toilet during all the done on the floor. We can see a small drain. This was created for the urine to run through into the sea. The captives, they were given food 2 times a day, morning and evening, and they ate from their palms. They stayed in here for 2 weeks to 3 months, waiting for the ships. Many of them became sick. Many died. When the male captive died in the dungeon, the body was carried out and thrown into the sea. Now, let me show you something right here. The floor clearly built with bricks, but on this small part of the floor, we see what looks like compressed soil. This is all decomposed human waste. So the toilet, the food waste, the blood, and all that of the captives over the years have decayed or decomposed into what we see here. And this was confirmed by a group of archaeologists. They came to the castle in the 1970s to do some works. When they came to this chamber, almost the whole floor was covered with what we are seeing here. These archaeologists examined what they saw. They concluded that it was all decomposed waste. Much of the decomposed waste was excavated, revealing the bricks, but this small part was left untouched for visitors to see for themselves. Any question, please? Can you put your torch off just so we experience how dark the place is? So this is how the place would be back in those days. And so the only light coming through when it's 7 p.m., 8 p.m., it's just dark. You can hardly see the next person chained to you. And you can imagine spending, weeks and months in this darkness. And you get out, you're gonna have problems with your eyes. See? So keep your head low again. Okay. So the floor, with the exception of the first chamber, there haven't been any excavation in the other chambers. So we should have been on bricks, but we cannot see. So all that we are standing or walking on, the decomposed waste of the captives. Again, 200 men in this space. Shall we? So the last chamber in the dungeon, and this space also was holding about 200 men. The British, when they were building the castle, what they did was that they built an underground tunnel to connect this chamber to the sea, about 80 meters long. The entrance to the tunnel was right behind the wall. But the British were the ones who closed the entrance. after 1833 to symbolize the abolition of slavery in British colonies. During the slave trade, the British used the tunnel as a passage. Whenever the slave ships arrived to the beach, the men in the dungeon, they were not taken out through the main gate to the ships. The male captives were rather marched through the tunnel. They walked still in the chains, led by soldiers, all the way to the beach. At the beach, they put them into boats. The boats would then take them to the ships on the sea before they are taken away to the Americas and the Caribbean. The entrance has been closed. We cannot see how big or deep the tunnel is from here. But don't worry, when we continue out, I will show you part of the tunnel. This is a traditional shrine, a shrine that belongs to the local people who live in the town. So the locals who are traditionalists, they come here to practice their religion, the African traditional religion. Now, the reason why the shrine is here is because of the land. The local history is that before the Europeans came, they had the shrine on the land. They had a shrine on the land, but when the land was acquired, they were forced to take the shrine away. Long after the English stopped the trade and left, the locals in the town wanted to bring the shrine back to the land. But the castle was already here. So they were given this space by the government of Ghana to build the shrine. So it is here because of its historical connection to the land on which the castle is built. Any question, please? And a lot of wreaths. These are all here in remembrance of the past. Since 1998, we have been celebrating the Emancipation Day to commemorate the abolition of slavery. And whenever we do that, whenever we celebrate the Emancipation Day, we have a lot of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora joining us. They bring along the wreath to remember and pay homage to the ancestors, the Africans who were enslaved during the slave trade. So all in remembrance of the African captives. Any question before we continue out? All right. So we still have the female dungeons to see, the female punishment cell, and the door of no return, the exits out to the sea. And we've been here for barely 10 minutes, but you can feel the place. So just imagine 1,000 men. Yeah, we're not even, we just five. The tunnel over there, it is an extension of this space. There is no exits. In those days, there will be captives also in that corner. So all part of this chamber. Okay. All right. They brought these cannons here to use them in defending the castle. They were competing with the Portuguese and the Dutch and Europeans. Originally fixed on wheels, the cannons were mobile. A soldier fills a cannon with gunpowder and puts a cannonball at the mark. He then lights a match through a small opening around here. When the fire comes into contact with the gunpowder, it explodes. The pressure from the explosion moves the cannonball at top speed. And these cannonballs are very heavy. So they fire them to hit the enemy ships, break them on impact, create holes in them so that the water gradually sinks those ships. All here to be used to defend the castle. The British stayed in control of this castle until Ghana became an independent country just about 62 years ago. So after they passed the law to abolish the trade, they did not leave. They stayed and they created the Gold Coast colony. In 1957, we declared our independence and we changed the name from Gold Coast to present-day Ghana. No other European country was able to drive away the British. Any questions about the canon and the canon? On top of the underground tunnel. The tunnel connecting the last chamber to the sea, the ground beneath. The entrance behind the shrine has been closed. We couldn't see how big it is. So let's continue walking and see how. This is part of the underground tunnel, and no one was coming out or entering from here. Starting from behind the shrine, the captives were walking. A soldier would just be here with a gun, observing and urging the captives to move or to walk faster. So just an observatory with a soldier with a gun urging them. About 80 meters long. This is the end of the underground tunnel. The captives were coming in this direction. The tunnel runs this way. But the British were the ones who closed the site, just like the entrance, also to symbolize the abolition of slavery in their colonies. During the slave trade, there was a door, an exit, right over here. Behind it, the beach. So the captives originally were taken out this way to be put into the ships. But as the trade was going on, the British L.E.A.P decided to close the exits. The reason, they saw that sometimes when the sea waves were very rough, when the tides were very high, seawater was getting in it. It was a problem. They closed the exit for that reason, and they created another exit because they were still taking people away. The other exit created is down there, known as the door of no return. It is still open, so we will be walking out of that exit. Female punishment cell. So we have seen the male cell. Here the women, the female captive, those who resisted rape by the British, they locked them here. Women fighting for their freedom. They could put as many as 10 women in the cell. And the woman could be kept in for about 1 week. Whilst in, she is given food once a day. And she eats from the palms. So the idea was to starve the woman, to break her, so that next time she'll be submissive. And also to use her, set an example to the other women in the female language. And the outlet was created for toilet and urine. The female punishment. Okay, so this is where they kept the women, the female captives, and they could keep as many as 200 women and children. There were times when children as young as 5 years old, they were kidnapped with their families and brought here. And they would stay here also. The 3 vents, their source of light and air. And the conditions here the same as that in the male dungeon. Toilet, urine, menstruation, all were done here. Most times on the floor, because the wooden buckets for that purpose were not enough. The women and children also ate twice a day, morning, evening. They were eating from the palms. And they stayed in here for 2 weeks to 3 months. Many of them became sick and many died. When the female captive, or when a child dies, the body carried out and thrown into the sea. So they were treated the same as the men. And the dungeons for women and children were 2. So another 200 will be in that space. The female dungeons. Any question, please? So we can see it up there, the door of no return. Yeah. Originally, it was small and narrow. The captives had to go down to walk out, but changed into this big one after the English stopped the trade. The name is very, very symbolic. The captives, they were Africans. No one came here willingly. These were people kidnapped, taken from their homes and families and forced here. When they were taken out and put into the slave ships, they lost contact with everything. They were sent to the Americas, the Caribbean, enslaved on the plantation farm, and they never returned. back to their families, their people, and to their motherland. The door of no return. Shall we walk out? Captives are still in the chains. The British soldiers walk them down. Over here, they put the captives into smaller boats. Like what you see right here. The slave ships stay in the boat to take them to the ships before they are taken. But now the place is like a mini fishing harbor. You see a lot of fishing boats. When you take a straight look along the beach, you can see a broken wall stretching to the sea. Yeah. The wall was built also by the British. It was a boundary. The Africans who lived in the town and communities around, they were not allowed in here. This part of the beach was reserved only for the British. Was put in 1998. In 1998, we celebrated the Emancipation Day for the first time in Ghana, and the ceremony was organized in the castle to commemorate the celebration. What happened was that the bones of two descendants of African captives were exhumed from their graves in the US and Jamaica and brought to Ghana. An African American by name Samuel Castle and a Jamaican lady, Madam Crystal. The bones were brought to the castle for some prayers and rituals, and they were later reburied in a town known as Asan Mansu. Asan Mansu was a major slave route. Many Africans brought to this castle passed through that town. After the bones were reburied, this was put here, the door of return, symbolic. We are saying to the descendants of the captives, the ancestors who were taken out of Africa never got a chance to return. But the descendants, they can and they should return back. This same door is now the gateway back to Africa, their mother. That is why the door of return. Shall we? So once in you see Akaba welcome. So the Akaba, the welcome is there because the door is
I cannot
was a lot of them. A lot of them. Okay, let's see this before we wrap up. I want to show you a very important message.
Yeah.
In 1992, the traditional rulers, the chiefs in Ghana, came to the castle and they unveiled this, an everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors. May those who died rest in peace. May those who return find their roots. And may humanity never again perpetrate such injustice against humanity. We the living vow to uphold this. The chiefs were here first and foremost to apologize for the role some African chiefs played in the trade. There were some chiefs who were collaborating with Europeans. They were asking forgiveness on behalf of their predecessors. They were also here to tell us, to advise us, humanity, the living, let us learn from what happened here. The dungeons are empty. Likewise, the cells. The transatlantic slave trade by law has long been abolished, but slavery is still going on in these modern days in many forms. Human trafficking, child labor, racism, and all that. We cannot change or reverse what happened here, but we can learn. So let's do our best to fight against modern slavery and make the world a better and a safer place, not only for us and the children, but also the unborn generations. So the message from the chief's castle to you. So I'll ask if anyone has a further question, suggestion, comment, and all right. So my name again, Kojo Kielson. It's been wonderful having you as my guest. I believe you learned a lot. The castle, you can be around for the next 20 minutes. You want to walk, make photos, but don't stay for that long. If you stay long, you might spend a night here. Yeah, we're gonna lock the main gate tomorrow morning. We'll open it. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thank you very
it's
much.
really impressive.